anybody out there? Is anyone listening right now? Because this is the third episode of TowerCast, the towering podcast for the towering filmmaker. My name is Juan Paul Flores Vasquez, and I am here joined once again with the Avengers right here. Go ahead and introduce yourself, you guys. I think at this point you got all ready to do it on your own, no?
How you guys doing? My name is Johnny Castro. I'm back again. Your actor, performer, and stunt coordinator.
Humblest.
And co-host.
The humblest
triple
of
threat
us.
co-host.
Yes, sir. And on the back, of course, we have the crew, the directors, the cameramen, the everything.
Hi.
Say hello to the world, everybody. Carlos de la Torre.
Here.
Michael de la O.
Close enough.
Always.
Like it's
I almost said de la Torre, but hey, and then we got Austin Young in the back as well with the Tower shirt, keeping it retro.
Fresh and
That's
young
like an
over
older
there.
shirt, huh? I feel it. Mine's newer. I'm better. But and then of course we're also joined with the cast and actor. Well, actually, the cast and the
I'm
crew.
not cast.
The writer and
You would be.
director.
I don't know why I said cast and cast. But we have Night Shift.
We're professionals,
people out here,
people.
you know, always.
Night Shift. Yeah.
Night
Yeah.
Shift, directed by, of course, Michael D. Head, known for such great works as Assumed. You want to name a couple others of yours?
Poster Girl.
Poster
Last
Girl.
Hit.
Oh,
yes,
definitely check
Poster
that one
Girl's
out.
Good.
Several other things before I ever moved here. Other Sun, Red, not that one, a different one.
A better one.
Robert
Yeah.
Rodriguez.
A different
A better one.
Not Red 11, Red.
Red.
Red one.
Different Red.
Oh,
Small
original.
Red, short Red. Several other things. I've been making films since about 2010.
Ooh,
Nice.
nice.
I had
And-
no idea what I was doing.
And you're also a professor at EPCC.
I am. I just started working at EPCC,
Yes,
teaching in the mass comm department, teaching, among other things, video field production. So very excited
Sweet.
to be there. It's great. I
We
love
call him
college.
Profe. So,
Or Michael.
or Michael. Michael!
Or
And then,
used to.
uh,
There's another Michael now, so you know.
Oh, that's
we get-
true.
I get confused.
Yeah, you're the low.
Yeah, I kind of lost the privilege to be Michael once I joined the team.
De la Torre de la O.
Yeah, he keeps the audio in check.
Young, old, I don't know. But we also we're joined here with Jesse Friday, right?
The star.
Representing the cast
The
of
cast.
Night Shift.
You
yeah.
are representing
Yes.
actors
Yes.
right here today. So what's
So,
up, man? Tell us about yourself.
I'm here. I'm thankful to be here for this opportunity to talk about the film.
And let the audience know a little bit about you.
Your thing.
Yes, yes, I'm thankful, of course.
What does Jesse do?
This was the first time that I worked with Tower Productions.
Yes.
And as you know, well, later episodes we can talk about what came after.
Ooh. Lots.
And I, it was a great opportunity for me because I was looking for new venues, new people to work with. Since I've been working on this since I was 18, but I left a couple of years to really think about my future and what I wanted to do and all that.
We all get
I
that,
focused on theater. I finished my career in theater, and
Did you graduate from UTEP?
yeah, I graduated from
Nice.
UTEP. That was my major.
Awesome.
And well, my manager told me, you need to do some new stuff, get the new demo,
Yeah.
because all
Get
my
your feet
stuff
wet.
was old, like 15 years old. Like
Off plays, off other movies?
yeah,
or-
like all my demo stuff was really old.
Nice.
So
And then you guys made this movie like a year ago, right?
It was
Almost, yeah.
spring of 2018.
Really?
We were just talking
Not-
about that.
yeah.
So this was this like your first movie? Or like
no,
you had done some
for the recent push, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
In front of the camera at least.
Yes, because also I tried to go with different groups, and the films they never came out. And
So you
I
really
could-
needed like a
yeah, I was like,
demo.
I need to do something that's
Nice.
really out there.
Did I ever send this to you? I'm just. Did we
yes,
ever-
you did.
Okay, good.
Um,
good. Just
So
forgot about that.
I'm really thankful for this, and as you know, things went better.
Nice.
Of
So right
course,
off the bat, what's the difference between theater and acting in front of the film?
What's
Tons.
different? Well, the subtleties, I think. On film, you can
Ooh,
just
yes,
move an eyebrow, and that can mean a million things. On theater, you have to be loud and really expressive. On film, you can't do that
Exaggerate everything.
unless you're portraying a character like that.
Yeah, because they mix it
Um,
up everything. Yeah.
Yeah, on film, you work with subtleties.
So you were an actor looking for like a new part, a new role, or something
Yeah,
to show for it.
Since I was really young, I used to play with my action figures.
Nice.
We all did.
I still do.
And I imagine myself that I was doing the
Legos
film.
rock.
You know, I had the director, the
Legos are-
producers. I made cameras with Legos.
Really?
Oh,
So-
sweet.
I used to play like I was in the film business. you know.
Yeah, I feel you. Same.
Nice.
So it was always in my DNA, I guess. So later, I was looking for new teams to work with, and
Right.
So how did you meet this guy?
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did you guys link up and how did you guys meet? Honestly,
I put out a casting call and had called for video submissions. Yeah, video submissions. So we didn't have a location to do just full open submissions or open auditions. And I started getting videos in. I started looking at them like, oh, the next, oh,
That's
next,
casting right there.
oh. And then I ran into Jesse's, and I was really blown away with the energy he had and the how he delivered the lines.
The look of the detective.
Now, was this your first film with Tower as well?
No, I had been on crew a lot. The first film I ever did with Tower, the first film I ever worked on with Tower, technically, can I talk about that?
Yeah.
Can I talk about that? Because
Yes.
the feature.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, what happened?
Okay. We can edit this out if we want.
Talk about what you can and how you can. And
I moved to El Paso. My wife and I lived in Dallas until 2017.
Nice. Oh, wow.
We had lived there for about 20 years. I was making good connections in the film society. I was in the film community in a society. I was teaching video production at the high school level.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And we moved here to El Paso. My wife is from El Paso, so we moved back home. I had put out feelers to a bunch of people in town, anybody I could find that was doing production, and Carlos was the first person, and the first thing he said was, "Do you do sound design?" Yeah, I can do that. And so I did some sound design for sound mixing, really, not really sound design, for Sun City Lights. Can we talk about that?
it wasn't Sun City Lights.
Not Sun City. Oh, sorry, not Sun City. Depth of Field.
Depth of field.
The feature Depth of Field, which coming soon.
Those
Soon.
are two projects that are.
So yeah, it was Depth of Field, which was, and we get them confused all the time because Sun City Lights was our first short ever, and Depth of Field was our first feature ever. And yeah, we needed. I'll take the rut of it, Michael, so you don't have to, because I know why he doesn't want to talk about it. We had a very bad experience with the previous sound mixing team over in a studio in town that shall remain nameless, and we just had a really bad experience with them. They gave us.
Well, they weren't film mixers.
They werenn't film mixers.
That
They
makes
were
a huge
geared
difference.
more towards music. However, their sell was, oh, we've done film before.
Ooh.
Yeah, their
didn't know that.
their sell was that. However, the guy overlooking the company in itself just was an unstable guy, and we had some problems with them. So we screened the film at Alamo Draft House for cast and crew.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and got a lot of feedback, and the sound mixers even went to the screening and were like, we know what needs fixing, we'll fix it for festivals. And it didn't work out. Just the guy overlooking the whole thing was being very shady. We took all our stuff. We didn't sign a contract with the guys or anything. So thankfully, we reached out on Facebook to Michael and was like, "Hey, do you do?" Because Michael really is a jack of all trades. Like, he can do everything under the sun when it comes to film. And we asked him, "Do you do sound mixing? We need a sound mixer for this feature." So yeah, of course. So if you want to tell the rest after that, but
I sound mixed the film. Yeah. After that,
What do you know how to do that? Like, because I mean, yeah, you really are a jack of all trades. Really.
Well,
like,
What's your favorite thing to do?
my favorite thing to do, primarily, I'm a DP. I love lighting.
Okay.
I love doing that.
Yeah, that is your thing.
I should specify, I did a bachelor's degree in digital cinematography through Full Sail University online.
wow, cool.
I also have my master's in film and television production from Asbury University, both fantastic programs.
Right.
Wow.
So in the course of that, you learn how to do everything, and it's fun.
And it shows.
Oh, thank you.
Because if I'm not mistaken, you were DP for Precognition, right?
Yes.
And that
Yes,
has
I was.
some cool, like.
We're not talking about that today.
But we can
That's
talk
Not
more
yet,
about
not
it.
yet, not
We're gonna
yet.
switch positions
But,
for that.
Coming
but
back-
just to show, anybody watching, if you guys want to see these.
So coming back to the
Stay
film.
tuned.
I should bring up in terms of this podcast, at least for the first half of it, I forget. I'm sorry. This podcast, at least for the first 20 episodes, we're going to be going over the Tower 20, right? So Michael joined us right before we began the Tower 20. He was there right before. I mean, the one we talked, that last episode we talked about, or
Was
two episodes ago we
the
talked
first
about.
one?
No, but that was the first one we released. So the first one that Michael got to work on was a film called There's Still Time, which will come in near episodes. We'll
No,
talk
it was
about
Roulette,
that.
wasn't it?
No, was There Still Time, I think. Yeah, There's Still Time was your first time coming to set. Yeah.
Michael.
No one laughed at that. That's funny.
Wow. Yeah. So, anyways,
I've done a lot of films. I don't remember
yeah,
that one.
no. I mean, it's 20 films that Michael's been a part of. I mean, he's been there since the first day.
20 films with you guys,
Right,
and
with
more
us,
actually.
With us, you're right. But what I'm trying to say is that Michael has worked on every film for the most part, and as definitely as associate producer as well. But he gaffs most of the films. Like he's the gaffer. So any lighting, that's all Michael. Like any
Yeah, dude.
Unless it's
honestly.
bad.
unless it's bad.
Then it's not me.
I think I gaffed
Then I
one
did
of the
it.
films, and maybe we had Delao gaffed one of the films too. So yeah, a couple of them Michael didn't do, but Michael is responsible for like. The lighting.
There's always a Michael gaffing. That's all you really know.
That's all that matters. That's all that
But
matters.
anyways, I
Give
thought it was
Michael
important to
that.
mention that because Michael, if it's not gaffing, he helps us in every single area, and that's we're very grateful to have Michael on set. For
Well,
sure.
what's cool with this project is that it seems like you guys were both very eager to do something. You know, like I mean, because I guess since this wasn't your first film working with Tower, like it was definitely the first one.
It was-
directed?
First one writing director.
Writing
First one,
director.
writing,
How
directing.
did this idea come out?
Well, it was actually for a class. I was taking a class in directing, and I had to write and shoot a short film. So I wrote it. I took with these guys, and I said, "Hey, can we do this as part of the Tower 20?" And they're like, "Yes." So we did the casting. They lined up locations. We did film a little bit at my house. We filmed at a fantastic store. What was the name of the store?
Sikis.
Shout out to Sikis.
Supermarket.
Get the microphone. Get the microphone.
I forget. I'm sorry. Sikis. Shout out to Sikis Supermarkets over here in the Isleta area of El Paso. And man, they were just so great to us. My fiance's parents work there, and they kind of introduced us to who to talk to. And man, the management was so great. They let us do whatever we wanted there, really.
Until they kicked us out,
Until-
which was fine. Which was totally
Yeah,
okay.
it was late in the night. Yeah, it was fun. It was great though.
It's a great location.
Nice.
I like them.
So like what was like where did the idea come from for
Yeah.
Night Shift? Because like it from what I remember you telling me just in passing one time is that it was actually based off a real life event that happened.
It is based on a true story.
And I want to know because there's like the craziness of that ending. Like I want to know like what inspired it and what like.
My dad was a police officer when I was growing up, and he actually did work part time at a grocery store as security for extra money because he had 3 little kids to feed, and we didn't appreciate the fact that he worked so hard. But he's fantastic. I love my dad. He's awesome.
Shout out to Michael Dad.
He's amazing.
All the papas
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there.
They're great. I want to be like him. Still growing up a lot.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
But he was working at this grocery store, and effectively, kind of what happened in the film basically happened. He was a plainclothes security guard. He would basically go there and just wander around at night. He knew all the staff. Austin's doing something. He knew all the staff, and there was a guy that he had gotten fired. I think it was the week before.
Oh, really?
I think one of the stalkers had gotten fired the week before. And he was up at the front waiting for this, just hanging out, talking to the manager.
Okay.
And he said he saw the stalker come in. Not stalker like someone who is stalking someone.
But at
a
this point, he
stalk
is a
boy.
stalker
Yeah,
because he's not.
Well, he was coming in, and he literally looked in, made eye contact with my dad, and turned around and ran out.
Whoa.
Just
And
like
my
the
da-
film, like he was about to do something.
Whoa.
And Dad was like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
might have to step in here.
and my dad just got the feeling, and he literally like tapped the manager and said it was the same thing, like call 911, and started following the guy out. They rounded the corner of the store. My dad saw him round to the back of the store, and about the time my dad got to the back of the store, he heard a gunshot. And
Whoa.
he heard a
That's
shotgun
trippy.
go off, and he rounded the corner, and there was literally the stock boy that he'd seen was dead on the ground, and there was a guy standing over him with a shotgun, and the guy started to walk off. And my dad, I think it is actually the only time my dad ever actually drew his pistol on someone. Most police officers don't actually do that. They actually don't like doing that because it's dangerous,
It scars him for
unless
life,
they have
yeah.
to. But I think that's the only time he's ever actually drawn his pistol on a person. I could be wrong
That's
about that.
chilling.
My dad. Has
So
told me
that's
that.
like several things that got
Mhm.
avoided that night, right?
And literally, I mean, in in the film, we only got to show one police car. We kind of implied there were more
Yeah.
there. Literally 4 police cars pulled up at the exact same moment and
Whoa.
surrounded this guy. And
Whoa.
it was a shift change. Everybody was still on duty, and there just happened to be all of them right around the corner.
Mhm.
And so they
A
got the
miracle.
call, and it was
Sounds
literally
like
a miracle.
Yeah,
And the guy was arrested. My dad had to testify against him. Because in Texas, if you hear a gunshot and then you immediately see somebody dead, you actually have witnessed a murder. So my dad had to testify.
Did the
Ah.
stop
So-
boy make it?
Oh
He
wow.
was-
What year was this, if I can ask? Or just
I don't remember. I didn't hear the story until long after it happened because my
Oh,
dad
okay.
doesn't. My dad has a ton of stories, and I actually have more stuff I want to write based on his life.
Yeah.
sequel?
Not a direct sequel. But yeah.
No, but other events
feel
like
you.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
And
That's
other
crazy.
things that since he was, that was when he was a police officer. He became a city marshal. He has not a city marshal. He was a warrant officer first. So his entire job was going out and arresting people. He has tons of fantastic stories
Cool.
from that. Like the guy
I can
that
imagine.
the guy that was so big the handcuffs didn't fit on his wrist. And my dad was like, "Will you please get in the car?" And he's like, "Yes, sir, I will." And he just got in the car and drove off.
All right.
Tons of stories
Wow.
and tons of stuff. He became a justice of the peace, and there's some stuff with that I want to write that I'm not going to spoil anything yet
Mhm.
because it's intense.
And then
Wow, cool.
coming back to Jesse, what did you think about the script once you read it?
It was very interesting. I came also from a Christian background, so this story was like I immediately
Nice.
fell in love with.
Divine intervention.
How'd you feel
Yes.
about being the detective?
Yeah.
Like once he told you, I want you to be the.
I didn't know it was based on a true story once I started to speak with him.
Right.
But I believe like this could happen, like because I do believe it, like in miracles and some situations that can lead to that. But I was like, yeah, I want to do it. Like, of course, if you wanted me to do it, I'm all for it.
Have you ever wanted to play a detective? Did you ever play a detective on theater or something?
On theater, no.
Was this
I
your
mean-
first like lead role, or was there ever like a role beforehand where like you felt like did this?
No, not
was there any
really,
prep
but-
for this that like helped you like carry the role a bit better?
Well, I guess you have to
Just seeing cops.
you have to play for the reality, not you don't have to go there and pretend. Oh, I'm a cop.
Yeah, I
you
see
know.
what you mean. I see what you're going.
I guess you have to see what the circumstances are in the script, and then just go for it. Just
Try to make magic.
yeah, pretty much. So
really?
Love
Was there any like hiccups during the shooting of it? Because I assume with you guys having like, well, I mean, yeah, you guys mentioned you guys were under like a tight schedule with
yeah, they wanted to
with the
kick us out
supermarket,
towards the
right?
end.
I don't.
But nah.
Well, not that I saw.
Well, the director should know. I don't know.
The only thing that I can think of is asking somebody to clean the window of the car, and they cleaned not the front window that I was shooting through, but the side window.
Oh
yeah,
ready for
that's
that
true.
mic
No,
pass.
You didn't specify which window. He just said, "Here, go clean the car window." So I'm thinking, "Oh, I was gonna shoot on the side," so I decided to clean the side window. So I mean, yeah.
He's absolutely right. I learned to be more specific that day.
Communication is key.
Something I'd like to bring up about Michael, because I know this is going to come up throughout this conversation. Michael is used to working by himself, okay, and he always has been. He's kind of been
A lone wolf.
structured that way, and a lone wolf, yeah, sure. And
Mostly I'm used to people dropping out at the last second.
right,
Damn.
right. And independent film, he's
Yeah.
the key example of like independent film. People just aren't committed sometimes, and they drop out. They don't see a paycheck, or they don't see what's beneficial for them, and it kind of turns into that. So when Michael came to us, we really did have to like, dude, you don't need to do everything by yourself. Let us help you. We really had to kind of push that on him in a good way. He was like doing.
What
this
he's
and
really
doing that.
saying is I'm a control freak,
No, well, I mean,
and I'm working on that. But I like doing
No,
stuff.
I don't
too.
know that that's the
It's hard.
case. I mean, sure, but I think it's more like you think people are gonna drop out, so you're like, I might as well do it myself because what if nobody gets it done? And he's never worked in a team setting this way, so a team that backs him up, So I think that was kind of a transition point for Michael, and we really had to like, hey, dude, we'll take care of this. We'll take care of this. You just go direct. Just worry about that.
And
we'll
don't
take
get me
care of
wrong, I've
everything.
worked with some fantastic people in
Yeah.
Dallas. There's some great people I've worked with,
Yeah.
but just the consistency that I see here is just really top notch. It's been great.
And that's the cool thing about it. If you look at it like through this film, like I mean, obviously you were already like talking with these guys and working with them and stuff, but you ended up joining the Tower
yeah,
team
and
because
to
of
echo
this.
what you guys were saying, I also came from a background where you do everything pretty much, one man band,
Yeah, yeah.
and watching you guys do the stuff that I used to do behind the scenes, I was like,
It's beautiful.
you
huh?
have to trust them. Just focus on what you're doing and trust them. But I guess it's hard when once you are just one thing and you just let it go.
When you've been kind of doing it by yourself for years, suddenly having people say we're here to help it's a weird mindset because it's like
yes.
you have to be able to communicate what you want, which my communication is not always fantastic. I know that, and that's something I'm still working on. And sometimes I just think it's just going to be easier and faster if I just do it myself. But you have to be able to,
I'm with you.
in
that sometimes.
certain ways, in a lot of ways, you need to, as a director, one of your jobs is to learn to delegate and to trust people to get stuff done.
And now you're gonna
And
drive
so,
yourself crazy.
Working on that.
You see,
Hey, here,
one thing
quick.
I feel I need to mention for the Tower 20 is that I don't know what people's impressions are. I don't know what the audience impressions are. I don't know the filmmakers watching our films. I don't know how they think, but we don't just ask anybody in the like, hey, whoever has a film, come on through and we'll make it. No, like we really do go through this process of reading the script, talking about the story. Is this a good story to make? And that's what's more important to us. Is this a good story we want to tell collectively? It's not just like any script that we'll do. We really don't work that way. And when Night Shift was brought to us, that's the key thing is like, okay, as a director, me as a director, I'm used to, you have to think collaboratively. And if it's a good story, it deserves to be told the right way. And if it's just one person doing everything, it's been done. And kudos to those filmmakers. I really admire you, but when everybody's doing their job and they're passionate about that job that they're doing, the film's going to reflect that. And I think that's what we wanted to do. So like when Night Shift came about, Michael was like, hey guys, I've done this, and this, and this. We're like, okay, thank you. But let us take care of your casting calls. Let us take care of getting you an AD. Let us take care of getting you crew. Don't worry about you and your actor and about directing, and we'll worry about the rest.
And to let people know, like Carlos was the producer, so like,
Right.
do you want to talk about what that was like for you, just in terms of like, because I'm assuming you're the one who locked down those locations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, collectively, Austin and I, for sure. Austin's producer as well, and it was more about Michael. Like I said, did a lot of the work because he's used to that, and it was just like, hey guys, I think the first thing was like, I need a supermarket, and it was like, okay, I know one. We shot one for Depth of Field for our feature. We shot in one. Let's go talk to them again, and yeah, they were great. So locking down that location. We asked Michael, we always, as producers, our job is to ask the director, what do you need? What do we need to do for you? What props do you need? What locations do you need? Do you need extras? Do you need, and I think that's what it turned into. As you guys know, John Eric has worked with us a lot, and he's part of cast. He's cast in this film as well. He's like, hey, we have this actor who we work with. You can use him for this, and this. So it's just on the producer side of things, just asking the director, what do you need? What can we do with you? For you, and is it within our reach? And if it's not, we will find a way, type of thing. And that's really on the producing side, how we approached it. Yeah.
And also, I appreciate it for giving me the chance of getting killed on film.
You're a very good runner.
And I have to thank you also because since this was a new group for me,
Right.
and everybody was busy doing their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so I was trying to get some kind of approval from what I was doing, and I guess you were like, I like what you're doing. You can try this, or I don't remember
I was
exactly.
just like,
I was like,
an actor and an actor. I was just
yeah,
saying, hey,
I was
man,
like,
you're doing
yeah.
good, man.
So
You're
you
doing-
understand me? I like,
For sure.
good.
I appreciate
so
that, man.
thank
Yeah,
you,
man. I'm
bro.
here. Yeah, that's what Tower is. Help each other out, for sure.
Yep.
What I'm
That's
hearing
awesome,
there
man.
is
With that said,
that made my day.
so does that mean like, was the set lively always? Was there always like a collaborative feeling? Was there ever moments where you guys had to teamwork to like solve a problem or anything like that?
probably the biggest teamwork moment was coordinating the cars pulling up with the flashing lights.
With Austin Young
Seriously.
over there.
Austin,
You were on the floor,
he has a
right?
car there.
Yeah.
Calling the police and all that. Like on the production side, on producer side, we also had to.
Yeah, so I mean, on top of that, we had to call local PD because we had prop guns on set, and there was houses like because
It was a
we
neighborhood.
shot in the back of the grocery store, and so, well, yeah, with the cop lights too, and there was houses back there, so we called PD, and this was the first time we used my truck as a cop car, not the last time. But yeah, it was just trying to time it down with the way Michael wanted. I think you had me on the phone. If I remember correctly, I was like a block away.
I was running camera.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I think it might have been me. I was
I think it was
script. I
Carlos.
was my fiance Sandra script supervised the film, and then she had to leave, and I took over script supervising when she left, and I was in in your vehicle, I think, Michael, and I was like kind of second
somebody's giving
ADing,
me
like, hey, let's
yeah.
give signals here and here.
Somebody just
So-
gave me a signal, and then
Yeah.
one thing you'll notice towards the end of the film, I don't know if Michael wants to bring that up, but he had me yelling out, like, get on your knees.
You did a
put the
good
gun
job,
down.
dude.
So I did yelling, and Michael just decided to layer all my different times of
I
yelling.
didn't notice it.
Mind you, on the producing side, like, mind
agree
you,
with
this
that.
is the right thing to do is to go knock on as many doors as you can with the neighborhood and say, hey, we're going to be shooting this. Don't be alarmed. We didn't do that. We were kind of novices at that. We really didn't do that. But we did contact PD and make sure that they knew. And if I'm not mistaken, they sent the cop car just to kind of keep an eye on things. Like, he was just
I didn't
around in the
see
area.
one. We were
Yeah.
keeping an eye out.
No,
I
no,
just
there
must have
was
missed. I
one.
must have been focusing on other stuff.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, I did see one.
Yeah, there was somebody kind of just, local PD was just circling around.
And why is that important?
Didn't bother us. Well, because if somebody, hypothetically, let's say we're pulling out a prop gun on set, right? Let's say we're putting out a prop gun on set, and somebody else sees that and they're wielding a gun legally, and their first
They can do
instinct is going to
something.
be, you know?
Yeah.
So if there's a policeman somewhere around there, well, they can protect that situation. They can really separate the two and say, hey, sir, no, they alarmed us. They notified us. They're filming a movie.
I have two stories about that. One is not personally related to me. One I actually know. The first one that is not related to me, there were guys filming a bank robbery scene. And so a guy was running out of a bank in a mask with a gun. And you can find this footage online because police were called. And
They didn't advise? Nobody?
They didn't call the police. They didn't tell anybody. And the police officer actually took shots at the actor. Fortunately, the police was not a good shot.
Thinking like Dumb and Dumber?
Like a storm.
No. I gotta talk about police accuracy, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
My dad was an amazing shot.
Really?
I have stories about that too. I'm trying not to just tell random stories. Some friends of
Interesting
mine
guy.
in
Interesting
Dallas,
guy.
before I left Dallas, some friends of mine in Dallas, they were filming. It was a zombie film. They'd reserved rights for an abandoned hospital in downtown Dallas. They had actual SEAL team members as some of the crew, or some of the actors, I mean. And they were filming this scene on the top of the roof where these guys in full military gear with prop guns, they were dragging a body bag behind them, and they were just going back and forth across the top of this building.
Going
And then
full-fledged.
suddenly, they hear a helicopter. And then suddenly, right on top of them is a Dallas police SWAT helicopter.
Whoa.
Guns pointed down, drop everything, drop. What had happened? And they had full permission to be there. They had full permission. They had registered everything with the Dallas Police Department. So somebody got a wire across somewhere. But somebody in a skyscraper across the way had seen them running across the top of the building and had called the police and said, "There's guys in military gear with assault rifles." Running across the top of a rooftop,
Oh,
and the
man.
Dallas sent the SWAT. They had already contacted the police.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
they had the permits and everything. It still happened. Somebody missed. Dallas is a big
That's true.
city.
Very
Somebody
Especially
got a
with
wire across
filmmakers, like
somewhere.
you want to make these stories that like evolve like some action scenes and stuff like
In
that.
Dallas.
So
That was in Dallas.
No, and that's what I mean. I mean, you never know. You just never know. And I think I'd like to bring that up in terms of if you're a filmmaker and you're gonna do an action film, you're gonna do something involving firearms or anything like that. You have to be smart. I mean, we were blessed enough to have Michael, who had a little more experience with that. Like I've taught gun safety, and I've taught for a program I used to be a part of. And Michael's done a lot of gun safety stuff, and like I forget if you're CPR certified or not, but I'm CPR certified. So in case, it's important to have
I
stuff
used
like
to
that
be.
on
It's
set.
lapsed a while back.
Yeah, so it's important to have stuff like that on set. If you can have a prop master, if you can have an arms master, if you can make sure not to use real guns and play them off as prop guns, it's important because you just never know, man. Everybody knows the Brandon Lee story. A bunch of stuff like that's happened on set, man, and you want to avoid.
and those are big Hollywood.
Exactly,
movies,
those
so,
are big
yeah.
where they should have
true.
professionals for hired on set.
Well, they had for Brandon Lee. They did,
did, and that was just a
even
mistake.
even with all those safety precautions,
Yeah.
accidents still happen.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
never think anything's going to happen until something does.
So and that's what I mean. I mean, if you're going to be on set, just make sure producers. I'm talking to you especially. The director's job is to direct this film. It's your job to make sure everything is running well on set, and before you even get to set. So don't use real guns. Use prop guns, and if and when you use prop guns in the public setting, make sure to use all the correct protocols. Call your local police department. Make sure to have a safety meeting with your crew and cast. Make sure you do everything the correct way, because you just never know.
And I guess you as the actor, do you think that like this team, the Tower, like, do you really think that they like? And you don't have to be honest.
Yeah, be honest, man.
Be honest. Be honest.
Brutally honest.
No, of course. We have worked with knives before, and you know the cautious.
Yeah.
I guess environment has to be like really high, because those are weapons, and that those can kill. Even if you play with cars, cars are weapons too.
Yeah, that's true.
So I knew that these were not real guns, but even then, like taking all the precautions with police, and because people can, freak out and do some harm. So
It's
and we were
supermarket
outside,
and
yeah.
families
So
and
good thing it was like during the night, and it was kind of like.
dead.
Yeah, then in the bags and then
It was a Sunday, also, I think. So,
But it was literally across the street from a row of houses. That was my biggest concern, was somebody in the house would see and call the police. And we actually, Carlos touched on something. We'd called the police like a week before, and then we called them the day before to remind them. Did we call them the day of? I'm just curious. I don't know. So you guys, one of the producers did call them
That's
the day
really
of.
good producing right there.
When we shot there, we always start the day with a safety meeting, and during the safety meeting, we didn't have an arms master. I'm sorry, we didn't. I was basically acting as that, but all the guns on set were non-functional.
Right.
They were pellet guns, basically, which is not always a good thing, but they were non-functional. They're basically broken pellet guns. And I sat down with all the actors, and I showed them, this is the gun we're using, this is how I took it apart, and I said, this is how we know it's not functional. Nothing's going to happen with it. Nothing's stuck in it. We're not even going to be firing it.
Right.
And I told them at the start of the shoot, that was part of the safety meeting, is if a police officer shows up, drop your guns, put your hands up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Immediately.
because props can be replaced. I don't care for prop breaks. If a person is hurt, that's a totally other issue. And when we actually got to the end, right before we shot the scene outside with the guns, we had that same kind of meeting again.
Yeah, real quick.
If a police officer shows up, you drop it, put your hands up. And because I would much rather spoil the shot than get somebody shot.
That's a good director right
Yeah.
No questions asked. I mean, don't try to argue with the officer. And this is one thing that Michael said. Don't try to argue and say it's a prop gun. Don't wave the gun. Don't do any of that, because you will get shot. And yeah, no, it's important. It's important. So I think for any film of this regard, I mean, we did a Western where we kind of had the same situation. I really cater that to. I really credit that rather to Michael, because he taught us a lot of this stuff when we were on set, man. Like, hey, we need to have a safety meeting. We need to do this. We need to do that. Stuff that we hadn't learned. They don't teach you this in film school. I will tell you that right off the bat. They don't teach you this in film school. And it was important that Michael brought this to our attention as a producer and as a director, and say, hey, these are the guns we're going to use. This is what we're going to do. We really need to have a safety meeting. We really need to do this. All the right steps. And since Michael's taught us that, or since we've learned those lessons, like, every single set, like Jesse says, if it's knives, if it's guns, if it's cars, every single thing, even if it's like one of my films, like we did a car scene, and my film was in like an action, it was like a dialogue film basically, and we used yeah, exactly, we parked the car off the cliff, and we had to make sure to do all the safety precautions, all this stuff. It was crazy, but we just learned there's a right way to do things. You're gonna get a better film for it, so just do it the right way.
And I know Michael, when Michael has like safety meetings, like he gets loud. Like you get like
It's important.
it's not
Because
even
he
funny.
means
Like
it.
it's no
He
joke.
means it.
Yeah,
It's
like,
important.
It's
Yeah.
important. You like if you heard me loud and clear. Like
And ideally, you should have a safety meeting at the start of every single shoot, even if the safety meeting is, we're shooting a bunch of dialogue, don't drop your glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are lights, there are props, there are cameras running. So
Trip over the wires.
yeah, all that.
Somebody's tripping on a wire, that's the grip's fault.
So once the movie like wrapped and everything, how was that like? Once you guys were editing and like, is there anything else you would like to add on that part?
Yeah,
Like,
how's the editing process? Once you saw it in the big screen.
I think I don't remember. Did I edit it? I co-edit with you.
How many movies have you done, Michael?
A lot. I've been doing this since 2010.
I love it.
It shows.
Yeah, it shows for
Okay.
sure.
It shows.
That I think there's a very strong argument for directors not editing their own films because
Did you have to? Was there a due date for your?
there was a due date, so I
Right.
had to get it done really fast. It was towards the end of the class when we shot it, and so I had to very
Yeah,
quick
I
turnaround
remember that.
for class. I think we expended it. I think we pushed it out another week or two before we released it for us.
Do you mind if we ask like what it got graded or like what was the?
I passed the class.
Yeah,
so,
nice,
you know.
nice.
Nice.
Sweet.
How was the reaction for like were they like, whoa, how'd you get all that stuff? Or,
Most
like-
people really liked it.
Yeah?
Most people
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Cool, cool.
Got some really good feedback from the class. A couple of the ones in the class I looked at, I'm like, oh. But that's 'cause people were trying some very high concept stuff with basically no budget, and having the crew, having the production, the
Yeah.
producers, and everything help bring it together.
Faster, I guess.
What's the saying? Don't
More
put your money
efficiently.
in the camera. I'm a tech guy and I love cameras, love talking about lighting gear and stuff, but don't put your money in the camera, put your money in front of the camera. That's huge in terms of actors and costumes and sets and everything. It's makes a huge difference, because if you're shooting, I could show you a film on a red camera that's awful.
Yeah.
That's terrible because
Yeah.
it's a thing.
No, but I think just to kind of talk about that a little bit in terms of the editing side of things, Michael touched on something that, we try to convince Michael not to edit his own film. And we try to convince every director, not because we don't think they do a good job. Michael's a damn good editor, just like a lot of the directors on the team. But I can only, as a producer, I can only talk of my experience. And I've edited my own films in the past. And it wasn't until I started working with Austin. Austin's my main editor for the most part.
Austin is like the best one, the best editor I've seen to date.
Nah, dude, I'm sorry. Jesse takes it, man.
No.
Really? Where's your resume, man?
Jesse, you know what's funny?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was like 6 editors on that, but anyways, but we have a lot of really good editors on the team, and that's our sell. That's our pitch. Like with Michael, it's like, hey, dude, we know you like editing, we know you're good at it, but you're directing on this. My thing is like, again, I'm a big Martin Scorsese fan, and he says, I think there's still a need for dailies. I don't like immediatelys. I think you need to stay away. So you need to step away from the footage for a little while. Let someone else live with it, and when you come back to see it, you're seeing it with fresh eyes. And that's my argument as a director. So we would try to convince Michael, hey, let part of the same thing, like let somebody else help you out with that, so that you can come in with fresh eyes.
And the phrase that I heard was, a film is made 3 times: when it's written, when it's shot, and when it's edited. And the thing about
I think it was more of a time crunch thing than anything.
it was, and I just needed to get it done. And I'm trying to correct my mindset on how I'm doing things with you guys and with everybody in general.
No, I mean,
But the thing about having somebody that's not emotionally tied to the footage is important, because an editor has fresh eyes on things. And the thing that, okay, let's say you have a shot, it took an hour to set up, and it's a 5-second shot, and it's fantastic, and the director was on set, he knows what it took to get there. An editor that's not on set, he can look at it and be like, the shot doesn't work.
Exactly.
yeah,
And the editor doesn't
I
have
mean,
that
it is
emotional-
important. I'm the one that argues against that, because I don't edit my films, right? So I get attached. I get attached to a take. I get attached to a shot. And the editors I've worked with are like, I'm a very difficult director to work with in post, I think, because I remember the shot I got. I remember the take I got, and I've been dreaming of that take being in the film. You know what I'm saying? So I do get. You're right. You get attached, and more than that, I think this is something important in terms of delegating. Give the person who's best at that specific job the job. Look, I know how to edit. I'm a pretty fair editor, but I'm not the best by a long shot. So I'm gonna choose an editor that's gonna benefit the film. Yes, Austin. For anything, like if I say I work with a regular DP, his name's Eric Sanchez. He was on the last episode. He's a DP. But sometimes I think, I think Michael's style as a DP is going to fit this better. I'm going to need Michael for this. I think Jesse's style is going to fit better as an editor. I'm going to need Jesse for this. So you have to delegate and think, what are their strengths and how can I utilize these strengths for this specific project? So.
And I will point out this, because he's already called me a control freak. I do like having Final Cut, and of course, obviously, at the end you have a
final say.
collaboration between the editor and the director. In the end, it is the director's vision, but at the same time, directors listen to your editors because they know what they're talking about. They
Yeah.
really do. And again, it gets into that don't be emotionally tied to a shot because you know it took 3 hours to set up. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
True.
So,
And I mean, I haven't worked on it. Like, I haven't worked on my own personal project with you guys yet. But I did. But yet.
We're waiting.
But I know. But I did like have. I had a. Thank you. But I had a very. But I had a very good. I had a very good like experience with Austin because I had never given anybody my stuff. It's always been me, and so like I felt that urge to be a control freak at some points.
Welcome to adulthood.
Yeah. Yep. Honestly, but then there was a point where Austin was like giving me like, well, look, dude, like cut this out, like you don't need it. I was like, you're right. And then just like like hearing that perspective, like it I felt
someone who's been doing it.
Although, I'm just gonna throw this out to counteract everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan is my new favorite director right now.
Mike Flanagan.
House on Hunting Hill, Oculus, Hush.
Oh.
He directed Dr. Sleep, which I saw Friday night. It's really good.
Oh,
He edited it.
really?
That surprised me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a good call. I mean, there's some good editors. Robert Rodriguez is his own editor.
Kevin Smith too.
Kevin Smith is his own
Clerks
editor.
2. He was I think he rented a motel next to that, like the
For
Mobies,
Clerks, yeah.
and so he would just film,
He
edit.
co-edited
film, edit.
with Scott Mosier
Right.
on that one, but every film since then, Kevin Smith edits his own stuff. Tarantino, I think, Tarantino has an editor. But there's a lot of good directors that edit their own stuff.
But I think
there are
yeah.
there are a lot of director DPs too, and that's
I think that's fantastic. I think if you're the best editor for the job, then give yourself the job. I think so too. But I can only speak of my experience and what's helped me as a director. And my films have become significantly better when I delegate that part of the process. I know I'm not going to be the best person for that job. Someone else will be. And I think that's my kind of... But if you're the best... I know, Jesse, I don't know if you want to touch on this a bit, because you're your own editor for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Jesse's a
I'm
writer-director
still in
as
that
well.
phase where I can
Yeah.
let my baby play.
We'll start a 12-step program.
Yeah. But no, I mean, because I'm also a photographer. So being that, the photography part and the director part, this time, well, we can talk more about this on that episode, but
Yeah.
I let that completely out of my system. I was like, you do your thing. This is what I think I want to do, and you do it. And I loved it because I had no, preconceived notions of what he could do. I was just like, I want to use some colors or something like that. And he was like, I can do this, I can do that. I'm like, do it.
As a DP.
Yes.
Yeah, that's for precognition. I think,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
That helped. That helped me focus on what I wanted to do, because I had complete trust in what he wanted on that part. So
I have a question for Jesse.
yes.
From an acting side, what was it that made you want to audition for the role? And what obviously you did a video audition, and a lot of people use video auditions these days. So what kind of setup and what was the process you went through for doing the video audition?
Ooh, straight from the director.
Oh man.
No pressure.
I'm on the spot.
Thinking in terms of actors that are watching this, some advice for them.
Well, there are no small parts. There are only small actors, and being this a short film and a student film, because it was like clear and no pay also, I was like,
You have to put that in there.
We fed you.
well,
Fed you.
Always feed your actors.
of course. Well, actually, I got paid. I can tell that story. We used the props you see in the film. It was like $3 bills or something like that. And I forgot to give it back. And he was like a months later. I was like,
I couldn't get that.
Here's the money.
I couldn't
And
get that
like,
surgery.
Take it as payment.
You was $3 short.
Yeah.
So you did.
I got paid.
You're a professional. That makes you a professional actor. That makes you a professional actor. I got
I was
paid.
like, yes.
Hey, man. Straight
This wasn't approved in the budget. What the hell, Michael?
Whatever.
We're $3 over.
Yeah.
for the batteries.
But no, I mean the casting. I love doing video auditions because you can do it at your own time.
Yeah.
You don't have to travel, and you can control the light and how you look, and all that. So
All that is key for an actor.
yeah.
That should
So you can do it, a couple times to choose the best take, and
It's the type of situation I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm not an actor. I'm assuming in terms of audition processes, it's the type of situation. Have I? When? Oh, that's right. So I'm assuming in terms of the audition process, we'll get to that. I think the GoPro died.
It's gonna blow
In
up.
terms of the audition process, when you're on somebody else's turf, it's not a controlled setting. You don't know what you're walking into. But when you're video auditioning, there's kind of no excuse. You get to set your own parameters, right?
Yes.
I would assume so.
Yes, and I did this audition the same way as I did one for a Hollywood movie, and I got cast, and it was released a month ago.
What is it?
What movie?
Rescatado. It was
Oh.
shot here in El Paso.
I saw that. I didn't get to go to the showing. I'm sorry.
So it's like I found the key lighting, I found the place, so I'm gonna do every single audition
Yeah.
like this, and it worked. I mean, I
So
don't
you
know
went from like night shift to when did you do that movie?
if the same year, I think.
Wow,
or
really?
before,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. You were really
Going
like,
quick.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was
On
like,
a
I'm gonna
horse.
do
I'm gonna do it.
stuff from here
Cool.
on, and I'm gonna apply. And I just found the way to do it. I
So your
guess.
advice would be just like take whichever you
Oh,
get?
yeah.
Or
I
just-
mean,
yeah.
Don't just go with anyone that says I need an actor and no info. I mean,
Right.
No, no.
because
Right.
you
gotta-
see
you
that
gotta read the
those
script.
people are not prepared.
Right.
But when you see a casting list and at least like a character profile or something, you know that they're onto something. So
Right. And if I can just say, you did help him set up his demo reel, right? Or is that what I heard correctly? Or no? Oh, okay.
You have the footage.
Well, the-
so he was
yeah.
able. Something we try to do is because we're doing no budget stuff.
Mhm.
We always try to give our actors the footage so that they can pull it. They can pull what they want and put it in their demo reel.
Nice.
yeah, that's
That
not,
helps.
that's nice.
So here's the big question: how was the reception of the film?
So far, everybody seems to like it.
Yeah.
What was like? Do you?
My
when
mom
you,
loved it.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna
I'm
ask you, how
curious.
did
I'm
your
curious.
parents,
When you
your wife-
when you finish a movie, like, do you send it out to every friend that you know will watch it, every like family member you know will watch it?
It's not
or do you
nerve-wracking?
let them come to the movie?
I generally there's generally a few people that I reach out to specifically because I know if I send it to my mom, she's gonna say it's awesome, it's amazing, I love it. I'm like, yeah, thank you.
You're looking for
I'll,
advice.
I'll send it to people that'll be very specific and will give me the hard
Oh, that's
feedback.
cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I know that and they do the same thing with me. They send me stuff, and I'll say I like this, and this. I don't like this, and this.
Nice.
And it's those people that have that. They're outside. It's a lot of people from Dallas.
Mhm.
Several, not a lot. There's a few.
Mhm.
Several people from Dallas. People that I've been in touch with for a long time. They'll give me very specific feedback about this is good, this is good, this is good, this needs to fix. You need
Right.
to fix this, this, and this.
You give me the most honest opinions about
yeah.
stuff for sure,
And
and I like that.
It makes you grow.
Yeah. Because I will always give honest feedback. If somebody asks for honest feedback, I'll give
Yeah.
them honest feedback. If
Michael
somebody
is-
just wants somebody to pat on the back, I'll be like, good job.
No, right.
And that's not going to help anybody.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
telling you, good job, that's not going to help.
No, yeah.
It's not like Facebook, like
Yeah.
They're getting
And-
rid of Instagram
And when
likes.
somebody posts something, like I'm in a bunch of filmmaking groups on Facebook, if somebody posts a film and they say, give me feedback, my first question is, do you really want feedback?
True.
Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say
They
no.
won't.
Sometimes they say yes, and I give them honest feedback. They're like, you're a jerk. I'm like, your audio's bad. What do you want me to do about that?
Yeah.
yeah.
And I guess that was going to be my question. Do you, since you asked him that question, do you have any tips for any inspiring directors and like anybody who's like maybe taking your path, like going to school or teaching it, and like if they would still want to dabble with film and such?
Yeah, because you're meeting a lot of people, right? Because you're a professor at UP, so you're
Mhm.
meeting a lot of like expiring.
Yeah, lots of, and it's kind of surprised me considering El Paso doesn't have a film school per se. How many students really want to be narrative filmmakers? I think that's awesome. I think that's amazing. I really want that to grow. I want the filmmaking community in El Paso to grow,
Yeah,
not just with Tower. I want everybody to be
Mhm.
better.
absolutely.
I work with a bunch of other people. I don't just work with Tower. We're not limited to you must work with just us.
Mhm.
No, we work with anybody that wants help.
Anybody that's
because
creative. Anybody
It's a playground out
A
here.
rising tide lifts all boats. That's kind of my
Mhm.
perspective on it.
Good
We
sound.
should open
Um,
a school. Oh.
I'm thinking about it.
He's dabbling
Um,
with it. He's
What's
flirting
what's
with
the
the idea.
podcast for? You know.
Advice for
Tower is not a place; it's a people.
my advice for directors really starts with the writing. Find a good script,
Sorry.
a good story. Have some kind of character arc. If anything,
How do you
I'm
start?
my own worst critic, and I'll tell you, in Night Shift, I wish I'd had a bigger character arc for him. I wish I'd built out. There was actually another character that was supposed to be in the film that I was going to have my wife play, and because of scheduling, she wasn't able to be in it. And so when he's walking into the bedroom and like he's like patting the bed, there's nobody in the bed. There's supposed to be
Oh,
somebody
yeah, yeah.
there.
There was a scene written already.
There was
for
supposed to be a
that.
scene written where he had an exchange with the character's wife. Even my own wife, we just couldn't pick at the time.
Mhm.
I love my wife; she's awesome. My wife supports me; she's amazing. I wish I'd had a little more of a bigger character arc for him. I was trying to be too faithful to my dad's story.
Oh, see, that's
As
understandable.
I wish I'd gone, and in hindsight, if I could have rewritten this, I would have started with a little more of the interplay between the wife and him, show a little more conflict
Yeah.
in their relationship, even in terms of the faith thing. I'm a Christian. I grew up in a Christian background. My parents are Christian. They're amazing. I would have started the character a little more on the skeptical side, and then had after what is obviously the miraculous intervention at the end, had him come around a little more. So it'd be a little bigger character arc. Find good character arcs. A lot of times with first writers, I see everything's just very flat. And
Yeah.
they're just trying to tell a story, but they're not focused on what's the character's need, where are they going, how does this story affect the character. And so I focus very much on, I'm focusing on character arcs and how they change within the story.
So you would tell them to start with that, like get
Get good characters.
yeah, get.
And not to like flash forward, but I feel like your other films like probably do have stronger arcs because of this, right? Like you probably learned.
I think so, because I started to focus on that a lot.
I do notice, yeah.
Good
So
stuff.
that's good, man. All right, well, I mean, yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add to it? Or?
As far as acting, I think you have to put yourself out there. You know, get your demo ready, get your resume ready,
Yep.
your professional page, because you never know when opportunities come, and
Who just saw a film of yours and wants
yeah,
to in their film?
you have to be ready. Take some acting classes, watch films, practice with yourself. You know, you don't have a team.
Don't
to
be afraid to
start-
strike
yeah,
out. Yeah,
You have to just be out there so people can see it. This is pretty much
Absolutely.
why we do it. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can be out there. So
Mhm.
be out there.
Question for you. You said you had an agent?
Not an agent or manager.
Oh, manager.
Yeah, I was this close to get it, but I had to move to LA, and
Gotcha.
she's still
Yes.
waiting for me. Bless her heart. But right now, I think I'm gonna wait a little bit so I can move over there.
My question was gonna be, what's the process for getting a manager? How did you pick them, and
It's
what-
just-
what-
I was about to
what's
ask
the
you.
relationship?
It's
I
just
need a manager.
networking. Basically, it's the people you know. If you get yourself surrounded by people who are in the industry, they're gonna know someone who's looking for this one. You know, if you're out there waiting for people to come here and ask for you, that's not gonna happen. I mean, it has happened, but you have to. First, you have to be lucky, and you have to have the goods to back that up. Because one thing is to find the door, and another thing is to be able to open it. You know.
Yeah, I think something important to remember. Like, I'm gonna kind of put Castro on the spotlight here because Castro's worked with us in a ton of films, right? And
The Hustler.
The Hustler, yeah. And we encourage him. Like, it's gotten to the point where I have a really good shorthand with Castro. Like, I know his strengths. I really love working with him. It got to the point where we're like, dude, you need to work with other people. Like in the good sense. You need to be exposed to other filmmakers. Go encourage. Like, anytime there's a casting call, we send it to him, and so like we send it to him. Austin and I collectively like, hey, you're probably good for this. Go try out for this. And he's been in a few really good short films recently.
Yeah, Desert People. I'm still waiting for that film. It was a
Worked
good
with Desert
script. I'm
People,
just
yeah.
really looking forward to that one.
Seeing,
Mark.
yeah. So, Mark, listen,
Post takes time.
No,
Post takes time.
but he's we've done that. Like, we've been like, hey man, you need to go work with other people, and we've actually said that to a couple other actors. Like, you've worked with us. We love working with you on a consistent basis. We love having almost like Adam Sandler has his actors that he uses, and that's cool, man. Like, it's cool that you can, because they're chameleons and they can play different types of roles. But it's gotten to the point where we're like, hey man, you're too good to just be with us. You need to go out and find other people and expose yourself and get experience. And it's important. It's important to not tie yourself down to one person. You know,
But even then, you have to be pushing, because working in the indie industry, some projects are never finished. You don't even see
That's the film
what you work with.
Mhm.
And if you have 10 projects in line and only 2 work, that's a win.
Yeah.
On to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go on. Well, all right, guys. I think that wraps it up for this portion of
For
the
the
podcast.
third episode of
Unless you wanna add
TowerCast.
anything. At this point, I'm going to move over to trivia. If that's okay with anybody else. Trivia,
Are you guys
trivia.
ready, Michael?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Yes,
this is an interesting one.
We should probably listen to these podcasts.
we had to cook this up, but it's just because like it was. I mean
doesn't want me to
yes.
see.
This is a detective, kind of in that genre kind of type.
Yeah,
so
so
there's
it's
going to be
around
some.
ballpark.
I'm gonna say this. There are movies in here that I hold to high standards. So without further ado, first question.
Don't.
I'm gonna suck
All
at
right,
this.
here we go. Let's see. Well, I'll go with the one that I feel everybody might get. So we'll see. Who directed 2007's Zodiac, starring Mysterio, Iron Man, and Professor Hulk?
Since I already know he knows the answer, let's go with
Let's
Jesse
go
first.
with Jesse.
I don't know.
Fincher.
It's which who?
Yes.
David Fincher.
Yeah,
David
Zodiac.
Fincher.
Takes place in San Francisco. It stars Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., Professor Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, and then Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal. So
Yes.
that's one of the films.
I thought he was your favorite director. You said now you have this.
I thought it was
Mike
Christopher-
Flanagan's
oh,
my
Mike
new
Flanagan.
favorite horror director. The stuff he does, I love horror suspense stuff. I don't like gory movies.
Oh, no,
I
no,
like
yeah.
scary movies. And like Haunting on Hill House it's an amazing piece of storytelling. And there's so many parts of it where it's not like a jump scare. I hate jump scares. Jump scares are stupid. But he does this. His storytelling is such that you're literally like just curling up into a ball. It's so tense, and that's what I love. I love that emotional reaction.
Nice.
That's what I like. And it's not like it's just Saw. You have blood and guts all over the place. That bores me. But something that really makes you psychologically paranoid about stuff that's good storytelling.
Beautiful, right?
He's fantastic.
I love it.
Second question. What film from 1974, directed by Roman Polanski, starred Jack Nicholson? Detective film.
Go for it.
Chinatown.
Chinatown.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Nice. We should have a tower like heavyweight belt.
Well, right now it's 2-0.
I would win.
It's 2-0 right now.
My wife.
It's 2-0. We got
My
5
wife
questions.
doesn't play trivia games.
welcome to chime in too.
Nobody likes to play movie
Well,
trivia
it's
games.
5
with me.
questions. It's 2-0. So that's out of 3.
All right. Here's the third one. Here's the
So
third
the
one.
loser pays their dinner.
You have to give me that $3 back.
But we should have a game night, just me and you, Michael, because Sandra doesn't like playing trivia stuff either. So me and you will have a trivia night.
That'd be fun.
That means they're both nerds for
I
film.
played the trivia for last episode. I was like, I know that. I know that. I was like,
sorry.
no, I don't
This
know.
one was hard.
All right,
I don't know these.
let's see the third one.
All right, third
Thank
one.
you for listening and watching, by the way, Jesse. We
Oh,
appreciate
thank
listen.
you. Thank you.
Everybody.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
China, Japan, everybody.
Japan. Honestly, real quick, just a backpedal, but real quickly, our podcast is available.
Yes.
On Spotify, which
iTunes.
it has been from the get-go. Apple Podcasts just recently, and then Google Podcasts as well.
Woo!
Nice.
And
I need to
find us.
subscribe.
There's no excuse for you guys.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to
Every
listen.
morning you gotta listen to
Every
something, right?
morning.
While you taking a shit.
Every
And on
morning.
YouTube.
Yeah,
I'm gonna skip
I
this
would-
episode.
If you guys are studying, writing your script, TowerCast, we're here
I'm
for
gonna
you.
skip this episode when it comes up because I don't want to listen to myself.
Third question: what was Christopher Nolan's first movie?
Memento.
The first.
Oh, you're
feature,
close.
first feature.
Close.
One before.
He did that one. That's how he got that
The
one.
one that kind of got him up.
Following.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, which it is,
Damn, Michael.
From what year?
Yo, he's got
The year? I don't. It was in the 80s. I don't know the year.
1998.
98.
Yeah, 98.
It was that recent?
Yeah.
Don't feel bad, Jesse. I was gonna guess Memento too.
That was his first kind of big movie. His first big movie.
I think 96.
Following was black and white random trivia because they
That was
could
his Clerks.
they had a mix of lights and so they couldn't get good color temperatures. He's like, just film it black and white. He's got a lot of good advice. His first short film, his like student film, it's
Ladybug or Tarantula?
Ladybug. It's
Is that
weird.
right? That one's weird. That one's
It's
cool.
weird.
I like that one.
Look good.
All right, now here we go. Now this
Number
film,
4.
these questions are for a film I really like. Honestly, like should have won an Oscar. All right, here we go. What does the beautiful bride ask Detective Tom Johnson for at the beginning of Night Shift?
What does he ask to bring home?
I wrote it. That's not fair.
Exactly.
Do you know?
Yes.
Okay. Do
you.
you know?
Because you're the one watching the whole thing. Or,
He was in it.
yeah, oh, he grabs the thing.
It was baby food.
Ooh.
Baby formula.
There you go.
Yes, there you go. Okay. Here we go.
Funny,
Yeah, I won.
funny thing. And part of the reason I wrote that was I just had a baby about that same
Oh,
time.
beautiful.
Jesse, we have participation.
I didn't have a
trophies here at
baby.
Tom, so don't worry about
Thank
it.
you.
We got you.
Let me be very specific.
Wait.
I didn't have a baby. My wife
His
had a
wife
baby.
had a baby.
So
Wait, can I get a question in there? Why is it that there's only like one can of baby food like down at the bottom of the shelf?
because
It was the last one.
Oh
No,
Well, actually,
the supermarket didn't have any.
It was a
really?
prop.
You
had
It was a
to-
prop.
I had to go to the next supermarket over, and I showed up like an hour early because that's what I do.
That's what
I had to go to the next supermarket over and buy formula and bring it into the store and say, "This is the formula that I'm bringing in. I'm going to have to use it. I'm not stealing from you."
Because I just love that you look and everything else is like perfectly stocked in the store. Like they just stocked,
Yeah,
and then
that
one
was,
can of
that
baby
was their
formula.
formula
But it
place.
adds some depth to it. I think it's interesting that it makes you focus on the baby formula. Like I think in terms of story, like it's just like.
No,
oh,
yeah.
okay,
And that
like,
was
it looks
literally
good,
where
yeah.
their baby formula was.
Right.
Really?
They were out. They were totally out
Well,
of
you know,
formula.
that's the only place babies can actually reach. It's like on the bottom shelf. So
I sent my daughter to the store once. It didn't go well.
Yeah.
She's 20 months old right now.
if you go any higher, it's they're gonna starve. You know, it's just sad truth.
And I like that shot where it just lowered down. That's
Yeah.
That's the little behind the scenes.
Final question. This is a fun one.
42.
Worth
Yes.
how many points?
Is all
This
for
will
all the
take-
marbles.
yeah, this will
all the
take-
marbles. What does Detective Johnson catch a shoplifter stealing in the grocery market scene?
Ricky! It was Ricky.
No.
Ricky was a
What?
shoplifter.
He was.
What?
Oh, there was a, there. It was the.
Oh,
lady
which one?
shoplifter.
The lady
Oh.
shopper.
Oh.
What is she stealing?
Yes,
I was
and
like-
you have to say what it was, meaning.
It was
this, huh?
tamarindo snacks or something like that.
What is it,
Like
what?
Sure, sure.
Tamarindos. Yeah, it was candy.
It was candy. What
Yeah.
kind of candy?
What-
What kind of
like-
candy? What?
I don't remember.
We
the brand.
we don't, but
Or like mango flavors. or
All
something.
All I know is I told her, pick up that bag
to
right
be
there.
fair, we didn't even know the name of it either. But it
Yeah,
was
we had to
it was
Google
pulparino. It was that like it's that like
Pulparino.
Mexican
Yeah,
candy.
that's tamarindo.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Which is a lousy thing to get arrested for shoplifting.
I know, right?
If you're gonna
It was very
shoplift,
obvious. Like
My mom does that. You know, she's been caught before. So. But that wraps it up for my questions,
Wanna
guys. Thank
thank
you.
Michael
I guess
D.
that,
Head.
that makes Michael. Or you guys
Jesse.
He's the
tie?
winner.
Did you guys tie?
no.
No, he
2 and
He
2.
won.
No, I'm pretty sure Michael took it.
Jesse's gonna get 2 participation trophies.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Dude.
Nice.
I don't even have one.
One for attendance.
Hey, it's what is it? Quantity over quantity.
Exactly.
I just
Quality
said the
over
same thing.
quality.
over quantity.
Something like
Quantity
that.
over quantity, Michael.
You know what? They're too close together. It's quantity over quality. There we
Yeah,
go.
there
That's
you
that's
go.
the filmmaking tip of the day.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Really quick before we wrap up, now that we actually have Jesse here, we want to thank you for the awesome logo, man.
That's all you.
I shouted you out on the
This
first
guy's a
episode, but-
talented
Yeah, man, now that
wizard
you're actually
behind
here.
Photoshop. I don't
Thank
know
you,
what
thank you,
use,
thank you.
But
wonderful graphic artist.
you're amazing at graphics.
I
man.
Yeah,
use
yeah.
the Adobe suite. So
Plug in your Instagram right now.
Yeah, any plugins?
Jesse Friday official at Instagram.
There you
Check
go.
him out.
Michael.
Michael D. Head. Don't forget the D in the middle.
And
the
check out
head
his other
security of
films.
Tower
Night
Production.
Shift on the Tower YouTube page. Assumed on the Tower YouTube page.
Last hit.
Last Hit and Poster Girl on the Tower
And
YouTube page.
Precognition.
And precognition,
Precognition,
for
which we'll be
Jesse.
talking
We're-
about soon. I don't know when,
Later.
but we will. And I'm
Stay
excited about
tuned.
that one. You guys better both be back.
Yes.
Let me know.
All right, I think that wraps it up. Anything else, man?
That makes it for the Power Cut podcast. The TowerCast episode 3.
It's our energy drink.
Lead us out. One.
Well, you guys, that wraps it up for us. As always, we're always going to be filming, always going to be writing, and we hope you are too. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, I'm Juan,
This is John. Eric.
and this is TowerCast.